This is part 3 of the first semester exam review for 7th grade, starting with number 51. Determine the simple interest paid to the nearest cent for each principal, interest rate, and time. Interest equals principal times rate times time. The principal is $1,400 times your rate, change it to a decimal, so 1, 2, times 1. Okay. Number 52, use a problem-solving model to solve each problem. The table shows the prices for cases of canned corn at 4 supermarkets. Which supermarket offers the best price per corn? So you need to do unit rates for every one. So divide by 6, divide by 4, divide by 8, divide by 12. Once you get your unit rates, you'll know. Unit rate. Number 53. Aaron practiced piano for 1 1/3 hour on Monday and 5 6 hours on Tuesday. How much did he practice in all of those 2 days? So we have 1 1/3 plus 5 6. Okay, we need to do the C trick, which would be 3 4 thirds. But when you're adding fractions, you have to find a common denominator. And 3 can go into 6, so we're going to change this to the denominator of 6. So times 2 would be 8 6 plus 5 6. Okay, then it's going to be an improper fraction, and you need to change that to a proper fraction, okay, to find your answer. Number 54. Davis traveled 35 miles in 1/2 hour. If he continues traveling at the same speed and started his journey at 2 p.m., at what time will he reach his destination 245 miles away? So for 35 miles, he went 1/2 hour. I'm going to change this to a decimal because we like to work with decimals more than fractions. And what I want to know is, how long is that going to take me to drive 245 miles? Okay, this would be miles. This is hours. Remember to keep your units on the same level. So to go 245, do your cross product. But then this is going to be how long it's going to take you to get to that to drive 245 miles. You're going to have to take this and add it to 2. What time is it going to be when you end? You started at 2, so when you end, what time is it going to be? This tells you how long it's going to take you to drive. Then you have to start at 2 and get your end time. Number 55. It takes Mara 50 minutes to walk to her friend's house, 1 2/3 miles away. What is her walking pace in miles per hour? So she walked 1 2/3 in 50 minutes. I'm going to divide this by an hour because we need miles per hour. But if you notice, 60 minutes. 50 minutes. So it's 50 minutes out of 60 to make an hour. And remember, when you're dividing fractions, you're going to keep it, change it, flip it. So you're going to do the C trick. So that'll be 3 5/3. You're going to change the sign and you're going to flip your fraction. And then you're going to simplify to get your answer. It's going to be an improper fraction. So again, with improper fractions, when the numerator is larger than your denominator, you divide. Okay, number 56. Peter bought a dozen blueberry muffins. He ate 1/3 of them and then divided the remaining muffins equally among 4 friends. How much did Peter spend on each friend's muffins? So, a dozen blueberry muffins is 12. We have 12 muffins, but he ate 1/3 of them. So I want to, how many of 12 is 1/3? So if you divide it by 3, because I want 1/3 of it, it's going to be 4 muffins equals 1/3. So if he ate 4 muffins, so now you have 12 minus 4, 8 muffins left. Okay, he divided them equally among 4 friends. So 8 divided by 4, and that means 2 muffins per friend. Okay, and it wanted to know about blueberry muffins. So we're going to use this right here. We need to find out the rate per muffin. So $15 divided by 12 to get your unit rate. And then you're going to multiply it by 2 muffins because each friend had 2 muffins, and then your total cost per friend. Okay, so you're going to go do this problem, multiply this answer by 2 to get the total money spent on each friend. $57. Christina is tying two pieces of string together to make a single piece. Her knot will reduce the length of each piece. Reduce means shorten, so we're going to subtract each piece by 1/4 inch. One piece is 3 1/4, while the other length is 5 1/2. So what will be the length of the single piece of string? So remember, it's going to reduce the length of each piece by 1/4. So I need to subtract 1/4 for each piece for the knot. That leaves this one at 3, and this one will be 11/2, but we need to have a common denominator. So times 4 times 4. Okay, you know what? We can, 1/4 is smaller than, let's just leave our 5 and deal with the 1/2. So if I just do the 1/2 times it by 2 to get the common denominator, I'll have 2/4 minus 1/4. So I'm left with 5 1/4. So now I want to know how long that single piece would be. So this piece that was 3 1/4, but after tying it to a knot, it's only 3 inches plus the second piece. So there you go. Number 58. We need to find which one is greater than, equal to, or less than. And I'm going to tell you, that's nothing right there. That's choice elimination. Okay, they're both negative, so when you're working with negatives, remember the one closest to 0 is the largest one. I would turn these into decimals, so 10 divided by 15 and 5 divided by 14. Okay, they're both negatives. And so see which one is the closest to 0. If it's closest to 0, it's larger. Okay, so less than, greater than. Determine the value of each expression. So 59, you're going to divide. So remember, keep, change, flip. So you have a negative 7/8. Change the sign, flip the last fraction. Okay. And it's going to be improper, so you need to change it to a proper fraction. Number 60. Jen prepared 4 apple pies, 6 chocolate pies for a party. At the party, 3 2/7 of the pies and 5 6, 3 2/7 of the apple pies and 5 1/6 of the chocolate pies were eaten. Jen and her family later ate 1/2 of the pies that were left over. What fraction of each pie was still left? So again, let's take your 4 apple pies and subtract 3 2/7. These were apples, those are your apples. 6 chocolate, and this is your chocolate pies. So then we're going to have 6 chocolate pies minus 5 1/6. So we need to change this to a common denominator. Okay, so if I change this one, I could go, because we know the number over number is 1, and we know 3 is taken away from 4. That leaves us with 1. So I'm going to change this to 7/7, because 3 7/7 would be 4, because 7/7 makes 1. So I'm just going to change it this way, because then we know the 3's would cancel out, and I could just move down my 7/7 and subtract 2/7. 5/7. And then for this one, same thing. If I change this to 5 6/6, because that again would make 6, I can get rid of my 5's, and I'd have 6/6 minus 1/6, and that would equal 5/6. Okay, but then they ate 1/2 of that. Okay, so if you ate 1/2 of that, you're going to divide it by 2. However, we keep it, change it, flip it when we're dividing fractions. So 5/7 times 1/2. And 5/6 times 1/2. And remember, this is your chocolate, this is your apple. Okay. Number 61. Replace with greater than, less than, equal to, and again. That doesn't even exist when we're comparing. Okay, so I would change them to a decimal. 8 divided by 13 and 5 divided by 17. And then fill in the statement. Which one makes it true? Number 62. You're multiplying fractions, you multiply straight across. 3 times a negative 2. Carry the 2 on top, you don't carry it on the bottom. So you know it's going to be a negative because there's only one negative. Negative times a positive is always a negative. Cross out those 2. Number 63. Order the lengths 1/4, 0.5, and 10/25 from least to greatest. So we know that 1/4 can turn into a decimal. A fourth of a quarter is 25 cents. Then you have your 50 cents. And what is 10 over 25? So 10 divided by 25 would be 0.4. Oops, 0.4. So we want least to greatest. Which one was your least one? 0.25, 0.5, or 0.4? This was your least, and you can start eliminating those 2 from there. And then your greatest, because this is 0.5 and this is 0.4, is your greatest. So there you go. 64. Determine the area of a rectangle with the length of 5 1/8 meters and the width of 3 3/7 meters. Okay, when you're finding the area, it's length times width. So your length is 5 1/8 times 3 3/7. Do your C trick. And then it will be, then you'll just multiply it across. It will be improper, so you'll have to divide to simplify. Okay, so 5 times 8 plus 1, and then 3 times 7 plus 3, and then this one is improper, so you need to divide. Number 65. A recipe calls for 2 1/4 cup of sugar. If 1/3 of the recipe is made, how much sugar is needed? So 2 1/4 divided by 3. And again, you keep it, change it, flip it, do the C trick. So 9/4 times 1/3 equals. You're going to have to reduce. Okay, number 66. Reggie jogged 2.5 times around the perimeter of the neighborhood. The perimeter of the neighborhood is 2 1/4 kilometers long. How far did he jog? Okay, you have the perimeter, and they said it was 2 1/4, so that would be I did it like this, but I think it's wrong. So ask Miss Harrison about this one. But ask Miss Harrison about that one, because I'm I'm not sure my answer matched hers on this one. How far was the jog? 2.5 times the perimeter of the neighborhood is 2 3/4 kilometers long. How far is the jog? $67. Diana's painting a bedroom with a mix of the paints listed in the table. What is the total amount of paint in the mix? Total amount of paint. So we're going to add all these up. 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1 1/2 plus 1/3. But remember, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you need to find a common denominator. Okay? Your common denominator is going to be 12, because that's everything is going to 12. Okay, so do the C trick here. Times that by 6. 3. And that will be times 6 also. Remember, do the C trick here. So 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3 halves. Okay, you have to multiply all these to find the common denominator. And then you can add across. Again, it will be improper. Improper means this is larger than your denominator, so you're going to have to divide. Number 68. Write each decimal as a fraction or mixed number in the simplest form. Okay. So we know that we have 68 wholes because the decimal's after that. So we know it's going to be 68. So we can cross that one off. I want to work with the 0.25. We know because of money, 4 quarters make $1, and that's 25 cents. So 0.25 equals 1/4. You're welcome. Okay. Number 69. A recipe calls for 2 3/4 cups milk. If the recipe is tripled, how much milk is needed? 69, you're going to do 2 3/4 times 3. Change it to a fraction, do your C trick. And again, your answer is going to be improper. So when you get your answer, you're going to have to divide it. Okay, number 70. Find the perimeter of the figure. Remember, finding the perimeter is adding them all up. So 3, and I'm going to go ahead and 3 1/2 plus 5 2/3 plus 4 1/6. Okay, remember, you need to do the C trick, and you need to find a common denominator, which 6 will be your common denominator. Okay, so you're going to have to multiply by 3, multiply by 2, and this one's good, so you can bring it down when you're done. And again, it's going to be improper divide. So because your numerator is larger than your denominator, so you're going to have to divide. Make it a mixed number. Number 71. Express each fraction or mixed number as a decimal. Okay. So 8 divided by 9. Number 72. Write each decimal as a fraction or mixed number. Okay, so it's going to be a negative. Negatives don't change. Okay, so there's your elimination of 2 answers. And you have 2 hundredths there. Okay, so if it's a negative 2 hundredths, you can simplify that. 73. Express each fraction or mixed number as a decimal. Okay, so we know 6 wholes here. So that one doesn't have 6 as a whole. So -6, that already told me my answer because this one doesn't have a negative. You're welcome. And 3 out of 4 quarters we know is 75 cents. Sometimes I do give you the answers. As long as you understand how I got them, I'm okay with it. Process of elimination, we knew the answer on that one. 74. A restaurant had 3 pies, each cut into 8ths. By noon, 3/4 of all the pieces were sold. How many pieces of pie were sold by noon? Okay. Three pieces of pies were cut into 8ths. By noon, 3/4 of all the pieces were sold. Okay, so 3 pies cut into 8ths. That would be 3 times 8 to give you the total number of slices. By noon, 3/4. Okay, we're sold. Not sure how she's going to tell you how to get this, but this is my visual here, is that I'm going to divide these by, to get how much is a 1/4. So I'm going to divide it, and that's going to tell me that that equals 6. So 1/4 equals 6. 2/4, which is half, is going to be 12. And 3/4 of the pie is 18 slices. But that's my logic. I know there's something else she's wanting you to work this out, but that's my logic. If you don't understand my logic, please go ask her for her logic, because I know there's a different way that she's going to show you. 75. Caroline bought 12 1/4 foot of plywood to make a table. She needs a total of 1/4 feet for plywood for the legs, and the tabletop requires 6 1/2 feet. The supports require 3 1/4 plywood. Will Caroline have enough plywood left for the supports after she uses the wood she bought for the legs and the tabletop? So this is what we need to be left over. Okay, doesn't want us to do it all. We just need to see if there's enough left over to make the supports. You start with 12 1/4. You're going to subtract 1 1/4 for the legs. And then the tabletop, another 6 1/2 for the top. This is the legs, this is the top, and this is left over. Is it enough to make the supports? So remember, C-trick and then common denominator. Your common denominator is going to be 4. Right? So, C-trick, common denominators, and see what's left over. And if you have enough to cover the supports. All right. If I totally confused you, come on in the mornings before school and we'll help try to get you unconfused. It's a long review, but I hope it helped. Good luck on the exam.